All right, we're preparing to live stream the webinar.
I'm sorry. I didn't like.
It's okay. You can throw it away. Mm-mm.
Okay. Phyllis, how do I make you host again?
You go to my name and for more, and it says make host.
Okay. You're the host again, so we can exit the practice session.
So Pat is missing, yes?
Yeah, I think he was going to be travel.
I think he was traveling.
Yeah,
Okay.
He is missing. Well, he's not missing. He's just not here at the meeting.
All right, it is 7:32. You ready?
Yes.
All right. Okay, the webinar has started. And attendees are popping in.
Popping in. Okay.
Popping in.
Welcome to the August 2022 meeting of the Clifton Town Council. Meetings being conducted electronically in accordance with our directives as stated on the agenda. And will be until such time as we deem it appropriate to go back to in-person meetings, which could be at any time, but for at least this meeting, it is electronic. And we'll start with our order of business on the agenda that's been published. That's the town clerk's report.
The draft minutes for last month's meeting was circulated. There were some significant revisions made to it. So the red line version of that draft was then circulated. So everybody should have had a chance to look at the current version, which is revised by the mayor.
Did you receive any comments on the red line revised version?
No.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for the July meeting in the revised version that was circulated by the clerk.
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Anything else?
I have nothing else to report.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say treasurer's report. I don't see treasurer yet, so we'll hold that.
Nope, there he is.
Oh,
He
there
just
we go.
showed up.
Okay. All right. Treasurer's report.
We're in helper.
With a helper, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
All right, Nick, when you're ready, we're ready for you.
Sure. Good evening, everybody. I'm working on July financials. I got to get the budget into it, QuickBooks to have a budget versus actual. That's the holdup. Hold on, buddy. I do have some notes. Let's see. Hold on, I'm sorry. Okay. Let's see. The second half of the COVID NEU deposit has been received. It was on our new budget rather than the old budget. So we said at a bare minimum, it would be the same as last year, which 69, and this one was at the new with the capital budget. So the amount, I did forward the letter to you, Bill, but I can forward it to the rest, but the amount is being about 152. Good news is this is kind of what we expected, and it is right in line of purchasing the green space that that the council made appropriations for last fiscal year. This, and just to remind, these funds are not a part of the CARES Act. They are a lot more loose in the sense of how we can use them. So we're not worried at all about the reporting, and the reporting won't be made until early next year. So very excited to see that hit the account last week, and we will book it accordingly. A couple audits are in motion in the sense of the town annual audit. The year 2020 to 2021 was actually filed for a 2-year extension by our CPAs. They're nearly done with that. He apologized, but and then we will start the 2021-2022 audit within the next month or so. From what I can see, it's not that big of a heavy lift from my seat, but of course we'll just work with the accountants and get it done. Part of the required audits needed for the town of Clifton. And then finally, I forwarded it to you, Bill, and I'm going to come down to town this week, probably tomorrow or the next day, depending on your schedule. The fire program's ATL package that Amanda has let me know is annual, and it's about getting some signatures and notaries and filing some paperwork to make sure all the fire programs, I believe it's 15K that gets passed around, ultimately happens. So I will be down to get that knocked out this week. And then I think I should note here, thank you, Kathy, for all the help getting Gordon, and thank you, Amanda, getting Gordon Associates all wrapped up. And ultimately, the town was being a pass-through for all the expenses, and rather than be a pass-through, we're going to have the bills go directly to whoever needs the permits or the work done by Gordon, which is going to be a huge help moving forward. So thank you so much. And we got everything paid up to date for them. And ultimately, just getting the accounts caught up. I'll be typing away and working on it tonight. I'm nearly done, and I will circulate the report along with notes by tomorrow morning. And of course, available for any questions, anybody here.
I just want to know whether that the CARES stuff from back months ago, have we straightened all that out with Amanda and everybody else?
Amanda and we have an open email. There was a little bit of concern that it was paid or wasn't paid, and we went through her bank statements. I sent her a report that I don't think it was. I think her and I just need to loop again. And I'm sorry, Amanda.
Oh, it was not paid.
It was not paid.
It was not paid.
The last email I have to you is the amount, and I asked for confirmation. So I think we can get that paid immediately.
Okay.
I'm working on it, Amanda. I'm working on it. Okay.
All right, send a letter around about the receipt of the new funds, Nick, to the council.
Sure, I'll circulate it right now.
And I got a message about Mark Kosravi and reimbursement for naturalist supplies. Did you get that?
Yep, it's been sent. It should be in his hand by this point, but I did email him again today and said if you don't have it by tomorrow, then we can recut, because I'll come down and hand it, give it to him.
Okay, and that fire pass-through, fire fund pass-through, that happens every year. The county seems to make it confusing every year. It's the exact same process every year, and it's always a mess. And it seems like it should be very obvious, very straightforward. And for whatever reason, the funds, they don't even come to us, but for some reason they have to pass through us. So just so you know, this has been going on every year, year in, year out. They never, like, they always send it to us at the last minute and ask for us to fill in all this stuff. But it would be good to have a process where at least we kept track of what we did the prior year. And then the next year, you'll know exactly what to do. There's like 4 places we fill in, and then we get this notarized signature and we send it on to somebody. but it's always the same process and we always seem to reinvent the wheel on it. So just a heads up on that.
Got it.
Okay. All right. There are no citizens' remarks, and we'll move on to committees and move quickly through that. Planning Commission.
Hi, we had a meeting this past month. We had 2 applications on. The first one, we reviewed an application for expansion of an existing use permit, commercial office use by Market Wealth Management at 12644 Chapel Road. The applicant will utilize an additional suite. So they now have 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112 for a total of 1,168 net square feet during the hours of Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. The parking plat for the property has a total of 68 spaces, of which 66 are presently allocated, including 5 spaces to Market Financial in their old space. So the space expansion requires an additional parking space for them, bringing up their total of 6 spaces allocated. So the Planning Commission recommends the application be approved with the hours and days as set forth above at that location and allocating 6 parking spaces to Market Financial.
All right. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, I will make a motion to approve the expansion of the existing use permit for Market Wealth Management to utilize suites 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, and 112 at 12644 Chapel Road as recommended by the Planning Commission.
Okay.
Second.
All right, a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. Okay, next.
The next one is we reviewed a request for construction of a deck at the back of a home at 12643 Water Street. This would result in approximately 50 square feet of land disturbing activity. Planning Commission recommends approval for the preliminary use permit for construction in accordance with the submitted plans and in accordance with a issued A or B certificate of appropriateness. And of course, any county requirements. And with proof of the foregoing to be provided to us within 2 years after this initial approval of the preliminary, so that a final use permit can be issued for the construction.
And quick question, has the design been approved by the ARB?
I don't know because we reviewed it Tuesday and they said the meeting was going to be Thursday. So
Okay.
Perhaps Amanda knows if there was a meeting. I know she often attends the ARB meetings.
Is that for the deck? Did you say, Kathy?
That's right, right.
Yes, that was approved. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. All right, and we'd be approving issuance of a preliminary use permit, is that correct?
Right, for construction, right.
For construction, okay.
Mhm.
We'll make a motion to approve the issuance of a preliminary use permit for construction of a deck on the rear of 12643 Water Street as recommended by the Planning Commission.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All right, all in favor, say
I have
aye.
a quick
Aye.
thing.
Wait, you have a
Never
quick
mind.
thing. Wait,
Somebody had their hand raised and he just took his hand down. Never mind.
his hand down. Okay. All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention. Okay.
And
Anything
that
else?
was it. No, that was it for the Planning Commission agenda.
All right, zoning administrator, any updates?
Just
Go
a
out
quick
to-
update on 7184 Clifton Road. I spoke with my counterparts at Fairfax County this past week, and they let me know that the owner of the property is proceeding successfully with obtaining the required building permits. He needs an updated building permit for the single-family dwelling. He's already obtained that. And now he's in the process of obtaining a new permit for the new retaining walls. And the reason why he is able to proceed with those permits from the county is because he has been through the town steps first. So that's it.
Okay. And what is the retaining wall? I recall there was wood and it was breaking and there was a discussion about how high it was. And then I heard it was a whole different retaining wall that went back all the way to the original approved design or something. Just what is
Yes.
it?
So the wall that he is planning to build is more closely in line with what was originally applied for. So instead of being a terrace of 2 retaining walls, it'll just be 1 retaining wall as far away from the house as possible, which is good because it will sort of increase the amount of flat usable space up in the driveway area particularly. So it'll be good for the property. And then the material is, I think, concrete. So it will last a lot longer than pressure treated wood in any case. Fairfax County, when I spoke to them, had not yet seen the drawings. So I'm sure we'll hear from them that they're happy with the way things are moving along with a more durable, usable design.
Okay. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Architectural Review Board.
In addition to the deck that was approved that we just mentioned at 12643 Water Street, we also approved a sign for Sun Design at the Clifton House that will be located above the hair garage sign on the back wing of the building.
Okay.
That is all.
All right. Thank you. Streetscape Committee, anything?
No updates from me. Did not meet Amanda, unless you have anything new on that.
No report.
Okay, we can move on to unfinished business, and that's 5A, 5B, Novak presentation regarding the frequency of power outages in the town of Clifton, as well as B, digital radar speed detection signs for the town of Clifton. Jim Chesley is on the meeting with us to give that presentation. So Jim is the vice chairman of the board of Novak and therefore more than fully equipped to present to us on Novak and power outages. That's what Jim works on, as well as having 2 no longer working speed detection signs right in front of his house that worked for many years and could be replaced. So Jim's the right guy to talk about these things, and we can turn it over to Jim.
Jim has been promoted to panelist so he can speak. And Jim, if you'd like, you can also turn your camera on.
Oh,
Looks like you're muted now. You don't have to turn your camera on. You can.
How about now?
Yeah.
Am I unmuted?
yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How do I turn my camera on?
Don't worry about it, boss.
Okay. Okay. As far as outages go, and I went back a year, back to August of 21, as far as outages in the town. And there were 8. One was in August of 21. It was a tree limb. The outage was 2 hours and 32 minutes. It blew the circuit. The second one was in October. It was another tree limb, 1 hour and 42 minutes. That was by the wind. January of 22, tree outside the right of way, 19 hours and 6 minutes. That was a snowstorm we had. January 17th of 22, tree outside the right of way, 2 hours and 47 minutes, another ice and snowstorm. March of 22, tree outside the right of way, 2 hours and 32 minutes by the wind. May of 22, tree outside right of way, 7 hours. Again in May of 22, tree outside the right of way, 1 hour, 33 minutes. That came down because of wind. And in June of 22, tree outside right of way, 16 hours and 52 minutes by wind. Now, let me tell you a couple things about right of way. We have a 30-foot right of way. That's 15 feet on each side of our lines. If most of you walk outside your house and look at the trees, most trees are more than 60 feet that are outside the right of way. We can't do anything about those trees unless they look dead and are leaning towards the lines. So we're restricted as far as what we can cut outside the right of way. What I can tell you is that our reliability for the past 20 some years is the highest of any utility in the Virginia, Maryland, Delaware area. Back to when something happens, we do have an automatic system that alerts us in our control center when there's an outage. But don't depend completely on our automated system, and don't depend on someone else to call in an outage if you have an outage. It's very simple. You call our main number, which is 703-392. I believe it's, now I have a senior moment. I can't remember the number. But when you call that number, it gives you an automatic response system that you plug in. It knows your phone number. It asks you, do you have an outage? And you hit 1 or 2. It says you want us to call you back when the outage is corrected, and you make that choice. And it's very simple. So I'm asking you, when you have an outage, do call it in. Now, if you ever have any problems, I represent all of Fairfax County. I'm on board 24 hours a day. I get calls in the middle of the night. That's my job. If you have problems and can't get a good resolution, call me. Now, I'm not just saying that, because people do call me. That's about all I can tell you about the outages. Are there any questions?
Hey, Jim,
Jim.
this is,
Go
oh,
ahead. Go ahead.
you can go ahead, Steve.
As I said last month when this issue came up, I suspect, Jim, that I think Novec has done a fabulous job. And I think they continue to do a fabulous job. And I know that we have a better record in this area than virtually any other electric utility. But I suspect you're going to have more and more trouble because, as I said last month, we're all learning that all of our trees are getting old, and they're all starting to be unable to handle the increased wind and the increased weather. I know that you can't do anything about that because of the 15-foot restriction. I'm not suggesting a change in the 15-foot restriction because I think when you guys cut trees, artistic value is not one of the high levels that you appreciate. But no, I just wanted to say I do appreciate what Novec has been doing, even though I do also appreciate that our trees are coming down and there's nothing anybody can do about it. They're just old.
Well, let me add something to what you just said. Yeah, the trees are getting old. Now, we have a rolling 3-year tree trimming
Mhm.
policy. And we begin the Clifton area this fall again with our rolling 3-year trimming. So you'll see a lot of our trucks either our trucks or our contractor trucks, and it's mostly them because we don't have the staff to do all this, trimming trees in the area. One of the things that is unique about our area is that we were first serviced by electricity by the Prince William Electric Company back in 1906. We were the first town in Fairfax County to have electricity. Back then, you ran power lines on a straight line, the way the eagle flies. And so we have a lot of lines that go through backyards, forests, things like that. That compounds our problem.
Sure.
Today, when you do any type of construction, for one thing, all of our new construction for the past 20 years has been underground. And anything that is above ground goes along highways. So that's the difference between what it used to be and what it is now. Now, we have had, and close to here, we had up in Fairfax Station a request to go underground. And the Red Lac community off Chapel Road wanted to go underground. That is a cost. If people want a subdivision or a group of people want to put their lines underground, they have every right to, but they have to pay for that themselves. The cooperative is owned by all the members in the cooperative. It is not right if a group of people want to put their lines underground, that cost be borne by the other members. That cost is over $1 million a mile. That usually stops most people in their tracks. But let's think about this for a second. Let's say Red Lac put their lines underground. Where does Red Lac underground cables get their power? It comes overhead to that point. So my point is that putting your lines underground is not the panacea that a lot of groups think it is. Because you got to think
Unless you
about
do the whole grid, right?
You got to look at the whole transmission line, how it gets to that point. So anyway, I think we're doing the best we can in this area. And I'll stand by that. But please, when you have an outage, call it in or call me.
Yeah. Jim, thanks for coming and giving us the rundown here. I wonder if you can tell us about any plans that Novec has with regard to those lines that aren't following the roadway, the ones like the older lines. Is there a plan underway to get those rerouted and update those circuits? And also any other sort of future maintenance and preventative measures that the cooperative's taking beyond just tree trimming? Are there measures to, fortify the transformer stations and, put in redundant systems to reduce the number of outages?
What we have been doing especially in the Clifton area, for the past 5 years is building in a lot of redundancy. The town is on 2 separate circuits. One is run off of Pope's Road substation, and the other is run off the Henderson Road substation. Until several years ago, when one circuit went out, it was just out, period. Now we have the redundancy. It'll switch back and forth between the 2. So if one side goes out, it gets picked up by the other ones. We've been trying to build a lot of redundancy into our systems over the entire system over the past 10 years. Now, something you might notice if you drive out Chapel Road, and when it opens up after you go up and down the hills a little bit, and it opens up to where Dr. Castro has the big open farm on the left and a couple big houses on the right. You'll notice that the electric cable that is on the right side if you look at that, it's a triangle. That's called Hendrix cable. That's one thing we've been doing. What that is, instead of the old system where you had two electric lines by themselves running from pole to pole, we now have this new system called, well, it's not new now, but it's what we've been putting in a lot of places, called Hendrix cable. That center cable at the top is a heavy steel cable. The two cables at the bottom of the triangle are the electric lines. So now when a pole or a tree hits that line, it bounces on the steel cable. And that has caused a lot of reliability increases because of doing stuff like that. So we're trying to do stuff all around our system. And what we do look at constantly is areas that reliability is poor. Why is it poor? And look at what can we do to improve it. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I appreciate the additional context there, Jim. Thanks.
Any
Okay.
other
Hey, Jim, this is
questions?
Lynn. I
Hi.
was wondering if you can speak to the conversation we had about anyone with special needs that might really have a life-threatening need to have consistent power and
Anyone who has a special need, like if someone's on life support systems, things like that, they need to let us know. I can't tell you that we can restore you any quicker than anyone else, but we need to know that information in case there is something that we can do when there's an outage. Now there's a lot of other things that we recommend, like people having generators, and we have a generator program where they're much less than their Generacs, and they're much less than if you go to Home Depot or whatever. We have a specific contractor that looks at that. We don't feel that people need generators because we feel like our system is very vibrant. But when you have those life-threatening or life problems, you need to let us know in case there is something we can do. And we do offer other things that clients or customers can take advantage of.
that's great. Thank you, Jim.
Any other questions about the Novec issues? I'll just close with saying, feel free to call me anytime. Stop by the house if you have any concerns about anything. That's what I'm paid to do.
Thanks, Jim. I appreciate
Thank
you
you.
coming by and chatting with us.
Sure.
Okay, and also the point about if you have an outage, notify Novec immediately on the number, because they want to know. They don't necessarily know as soon as we do. When we have an outage, we know because it's dark in the house. Let them know right away, and they can see who's out and how widespread is it, where is it, and they can start doing diagnosis, analysis, and responding to the outage. They actually want you to do it.
The
Jim,
number
do you
I have,
recall the
yeah,
number?
I've
Oh,
got
you
the
Yeah.
number.
By the way, my senior moment just came back to me. 703-335-0500.
Okay. Very good. All right, that takes care of that. Next item is digital radar speed detection signs for the town of Clifton. And Jim was going to
Okay,
present on that.
What I have done is, and I spent a lot of time talking with different police departments, and the people that I'm dealing with are the same ones who supplies Fairfax County Police, Manassas Park, Loudoun County, Middleburg, Haymarket, VDOT as far as signs go. Back in about 2005, you all have as I told Bill today, you all have such an advantage that I'm so envious of what you are able to do, because when I was mayor, I had $29,000 in my treasury. I think you have a couple more dollars than that. So you can do much more than we could do. But back in 2005, we used a government grant and got the 2 speed signs that are located on the telephone pole in front of my house. They weren't put up until, I don't know, maybe 2010. But anyway, they were put up. And I can tell you, because I've sat on the front porch and watched, and I know this myself, because when I see a speed sign and I'm driving, 90% of the people who come upon a sign that's flashing at them, the first thing I think they will do is look down. They see a number flashing and they look down at their speedometer and they make a determination. Hey, am I speeding? I think I'll slow down a little bit. Well, it works. I've seen cars slow down both ways in front of my house. Unfortunately, those 2 signs have gone the way of the dodo. They both, neither one, well, one works when the car is right next to it. But anyway, they, for all intents and purposes, don't work. So I started looking into, what the county uses. And I've talked to the people at, it's called All Traffic Solutions. And there are 2 options available that they've given to me. One is a speed sign that all it does is flash the speed. That's basically it. It's a speed display. It doesn't have any text like slow down or anything. It just is flashing speed. Now that's what we currently have, or I had in front of my house. And that part does work. Now, you can either get them battery powered, hardwired, or solar powered. We don't have any good places for solar around here, and the solar costs several $1,000s more per unit. So what I did is get estimates for hardwired. And by the way, Novec will, and this will save a couple $1,000s per utility pole per sign. Novec will put these up at no cost, because what they have to do is run power from what I'm suggesting to do is put these on current utility poles. And what they do, they run the power down to a box and then you plug them in. So there are 2 options. One is the low end option, and I priced 3 of them. Basically $7,826 with a 3-year warranty for just the speed display. That's option 1. Option 2, and the one that I would recommend, does a bit more. It's a little bit bigger sign, and it has it's also hardwired, but it's a message sign. You can put different messages in it, like it will flash slow down and then it'll flash 25 or whatever you want. If the speed limit is 25 and it's set to be 25, when someone is driving towards it and they're doing 27, it will flash 27. If they're doing 30 or 31, it will not it will flash their speed, but there's a strobe on the outside, on the rim of the sign that goes around, which is red and blue lights strobing like a police car when you look in the rearview mirror and your heart stops. That's the one I would recommend. Now, it also has the capability to do display up to 6 different displays. But all these things can be loaded in. It's also like a Tesla, if you know much about a Tesla EV. They have the basic Tesla has built into it software to do all kinds of stuff, but you have to pay extra to turn on each of these things. These machines have software to do a lot of stuff, but you pay extra for software to collect data, things like that. I don't think we want to get into any of that stuff. I think all we want to do is flash, speed, strobe lights, things like that. So anyway, the one that the higher price one for 3 units is 11,200. Now I was thinking 3 units, but after I talked to Bill today, I'm thinking now 4 units. And here's where I would place them. I'd replace the 2. We have a tremendous speeding problem from the 3-way stop sign on Main Street going up Main to Kinchlow to Clifton Heights, both up and down the hill. We have another tremendous speeding problem from the 3-way stop sign going around Clifton Road, going out of town. We also have a tremendous speeding problem with people coming in towards the triangle, as noted by the times the triangle gets run into or people flip over in the floodplain. And then coming into town down Clifton Road by Reagan's house, the amount of times the signs have been taken out at the curve and the amount of times the gentleman who owns the house on the corner has had his fence run into. So here's what I'm suggesting. I'm suggesting 2 of these units replace the 2 dead units on the telephone pole in front of my house. I'm suggesting 1 unit on the utility pole coming down Clifton Road at the corner of Clifton Road and School by Reagan's house. I'm suggesting 1 on one of the utility poles as you come in right past the town limits sign on Clifton Road by the past the school. So those are my recommendations.
Jim, can you clarify
Yes.
2 things?
Yeah.
We have an example of the red and blue flashing lights and the strobe.
Yeah.
It's on Newman Road right now. The police have put up
Right. Right.
one that everybody can see because nobody drives at 25 miles an hour, so it's flashing all the time. If you're suggesting a strobe-based unit that is in town in front of your house or in front of Reagan's house, isn't that going to be a problem for the people in those houses?
It's only going to be doing it when that person, when the driver is speeding and there is no light that goes to the side. It would be facing the roadway. I don't see a problem with it. I mean, I don't have any problem right now, or I didn't have any problem when the white light was flashing in front of my house from the speed signs because I didn't see it at all in my house. I would have to almost walk out into the street. In fact, that's what I used to do. I'd get up off my porch and I'd start to walk out my front sidewalk so I could see what it was flashing when someone would be coming down the hill. Now, I don't see that as a problem.
Okay.
And if you think
question,
it's a problem, you can always turn it off.
The second question is, can you go over again the cost of now 4 or the anticipated cost of 4 of these units?
The cost of 3 was 11,200. So divide that by 3 and then multiply by 4. I don't have a calculator in front of me. So I'm saying it's less than 15,000.
Mm-hmm.
It's right under 15.
Right.
For the higher price unit.
Yeah.
Obviously it's less.
You said 11,300?
11,300 for 3.
Right, so it's 15,066.
Okay, so
Thanks for
15,000.
repeating. Yeah, right at 15K. Yeah, my only remark would be, as Steve pointed out, just any household that's within any type of distance of this strobe, we just kind of get them to sign off on it before we put anything up. I just want to make sure that folks that will be directly impacted by this flashing light have an opportunity to
I don't know.
chime in.
Yeah, and I don't know that we would go around with a petition to be signed, but rather the way I think we would address it is if we are thinking of doing this, we would put it on the table and we would have a few meetings where we put this on every agenda and we give anyone who has any interest an opportunity to speak. And if several meetings go by and nobody wants to speak about it, then they've had their opportunity as opposed to going door to door.
Yeah, I just know with flashing lights, there's some conditions that have issues with regard to photosensitivity, and I think we should just make an effort. Anybody that's going to be nearby one of these, living nearby one of these, make some direct outreach. I'm happy to do that if we know where the locations are.
Well, the irony.
The other thing is, I assume, I'm sorry, Bill, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say the irony is it's Reagan, Jim, Lynn, and Pat are the people who would be part. I mean, we're just lucky that they happen to actually be here, who would be the ones who would be most likely to be impacted. Over near the school, it'd be hard to think of anybody who could really.
Yeah, for us, it's an easy trade-off with noise. We're concerned. I don't want to say not concerned about speed, less concerned about speed than we are noise. It's just deafening, with some of the cars and bikes. So anything that would be used, and there's kind of a, Clifton Road is kind of a cut. So once you get just a little ways up the road, you're between heavily wooded. I think the back of Jay's house, might have a line of sight to that, whereas I wouldn't. So depending on exactly where we place it. So,
and I'm making an assumption, Jim, that since these things are programmable, if it should turn out that the strobe was a problem, but the other stuff was still working very well, we could turn off the strobe.
Oh yeah, you can turn off anything.
Yeah.
You can put in measure, you can turn off anything you see a problem with. As I was, okay, any other, I've got some other things to talk about the speeding issue, but is there any other questions on the speed signs?
The only thing I want to point out is that to me, I care about speeding, but I don't care that much about speeding. Like I kind of care, but I really care about safety. And I see these people piling into that ravine just past Reagan's house every month, a couple times a month. I'm surprised somebody hasn't been really seriously hurt there. And I keep waiting for it to happen. I don't know why VDOT, whatever they're doing there. And the people running into the sign and careening off into the floodplain. I'm concerned about safety. And in my view, if we can grab people's attention, whoever it is, they're on their phone or whatever, if there's something that gets their attention and says, wait a sec, you need to slow down, that we may significantly improve safety. That's my biggest concern, more so than just the speeding per se.
I would, and I would suggest that each of these signs, as opposed to just flashing the speed, would flash slow down and then the speed, slow down and then their speed. And then obviously if they're doing whatever you set as the upper limit, they get the strobe thing.
Yeah, I've seen these. They're very effective. If you're going really fast, it flashes like too fast. And then you slow down, it goes slow down. And then you finally get to +5 and it starts counting down. They got these where we go to the beach. They got them in Manassas. And I personally have from time to time set them off and found them to be quite effective at getting my attention and getting synced into my brain. When you get here, just chill, which is what we want.
Yeah.
Tim, can you confirm that the signs that you're proposing are the same ones that are on, or the same one that's on Newman? I haven't seen that one personally.
No. They're not at all that size. The size of these, if you'll just hang on a second. I've got a 6-page summary. The ones I'm suggesting are 18 by 28.
Mhm.
18 inches by 28 inches. So they would be standalone on the pole, 18 by 28.
And do you have a name of it so that we can just get an idea of what this strobe light is actually going to be looking like? Yeah. Do
The
you have
strobe
anything?
goes around the strobe would be going around the outside 4 corners, or 4 edges of the speed limit sign. It's like it just goes round and round and round, red and blue, alternating.
Well, maybe we can connect and just get the model number so that we can actually see pictures of it and see how it operates.
There is a website that shows you it actually working. I've got all that information. I will get it to you, but you can go to alltrafficsolutions.com, and look up the Speed Alert 18, Speed Alert 18 radar messaging sign.
Mhm.
And it gives you a video of it working and what it looks like.
Perfect. Thank you.
One question, how do you sync this up with the speed limit signs? A lot of times I see these coupled. There will be the speed limit sign, and right below that will be this sign. So you see you're going 53 and it says speed limit 35, and you go, oh, yeah, okay, those don't match. But if you just see your speed X,
No,
will there be a
usually,
speed
Bill,
limit sign somewhere?
yeah, usually what they do, in fact, the way they're set up, the two in front of my house, they have a bracket at the top, and I mounted 2 speed limit 25s above them. And that's what you would do here. You would mount a regular speed limit sign that says 25 mile per hour or whatever they say on it, white with black lettering, right above the display.
Yep. And I guess I should throw out there, I was going to say, we love signs. We love signs in Clifton, especially flashing strobe signs. I care greatly about safety. I will note, we talked about the strobing, but there's a whole like anti-sign brigade in town, usually headed by the ARB. So
I feel like as long as the strobe lights are historically accurate, we'll be okay.
Yeah. How would we run that? If we were to do this and put 4 of these up, are we going to the ARB to show them the picture of the All Traffic Solutions sign and get their blessing? What are we going to do? I mean, it's not a historically whatever. It's a speed limit sign. VDOT doesn't go to the ARB to get approval to put a speed limit sign up. Any thoughts on that, just from a process standpoint?
Are you asking me?
I think I'm asking Reagan, who's our ARB rep, if he has any thoughts.
We should present it. I think that the ARB recognizes that the council can approve something, without the ARB, if it comes through the ARB and goes to the town and gets approved anyway. But it would be good to run it through. I know that there's proponents and non-proponents of more signs, but I think, from a traffic calming measure, we need to do something. And we've gotten pushback on rumble strips going up the hill because they generate noise, et cetera, et cetera. So I think this is one of the less intrusive ways to get something done.
And us being
I'm
proactive.
available at any time.
Okay. All right. Just teasing out the sensitivities.
Yep. Anything that we needed to review on the budget that was approved for this? Because I know that we did quote some or investigated some pieces of equipment, and we've got something in the budget.
There's something in the budget. I don't know what it is. Do you know
I think we
offhand?
put
Nick?
9,000.
9,000, okay. Well, there is a line item in the budget, which is good.
Good.
Okay, Jim,
Now-
will you,
I've got one last thing.
Okay.
As I said, 90%, I think, of people who see these things look at their speedometer and do slow down. There's a 10% who you will never get to obey these things. And that brings up a point that I guess goes back to when I said when I was mayor, I had $29,000. You guys are in a much better position, and I highly recommend that you consider overtime Fairfax County Police at places that you decide, and I've got several of them, and your time, and hire them and see if that helps these guys who run past Reagan's house and go out Clifton Road, and the ones who run up in front of Lynn's house on Kinslow. I highly recommend you do that. We need a concerted effort, not only for those who are just going a couple miles over, but the ones who just don't care. And they create so much noise that half the time you cannot, when they go by, you cannot talk in your backyard. So that's just a thought.
Jim, another question, and this is not a stopper as far as I'm concerned. I'm in favor of this whole thing, but do you have any information on insuring these things? Because within that 10%, there's 1 or 2% who love to use shotguns and rifles to take these things out. Are they insured?
Well,
That'd probably be the town's VRSA insurance with $1,000 deductible, Steve.
$1,000. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
it's interesting you should say that, Steve, because one of the speed signs in front of my house, which hasn't worked for about 3 years, has a bullet hole in the center of it.
Sure.
That's the reason it doesn't work.
Not surprised.
No. Yeah, so that would have to be a town insurance thing.
Okay.
okay, so we talked about overtime, off-duty Fairfax County Police. And just so people understand what we're talking about, Fairfax County Police, they're obligated to spend a certain amount of time in Clifton each month or whatever the time period is. And they do, but they do what they want, which as best I can tell is sitting in front of the town hall, watching for the many speeders in front of MOTA and the fire department. Sitting in front of the Masonic Lodge or in the Masonic Lodge parking lot, watching for the many people speeding as they approach the railroad track jump or come over the other way. Or sitting in front of Wayne's house, checking on overdue safety inspections. None
I
of
think they're
those,
doing that at all 3 locations.
yeah, none of those are of any use, in my opinion. I mean, that's lovely, but and I'm sure it's great and safety is important and we love them. And the fact that they were at the Masonic Lodge when that person launched their car through the Welcome to Clifton sign, they were there in moments. So it's good that they're here. But the point is, they're choosing things that they prioritize, which might be different from what we prioritize. If we pay them off duty, then we prioritize. And frankly, if we seek to prioritize and pay them, and they still don't want to do what we want to prioritize, then we wouldn't continue to pay them. So it's pretty easy how that works. But we would prioritize, we would pay them off duty, and then they would do their job the same way. So if they pull somebody over and give them a ticket, it's the usual Fairfax County ticket, goes through the same system. We don't need our own judge and our own court and all that. It's just normal. The difference is we can prioritize. Jim's got a few places up around Clifton Heights or other places where we'd say, please be here to watch for speeding. And, as Jim has said, it would be great if Clifton was known everywhere as a terrible speed trap, as a place you should drive really slow. as soon as you get close to it. That would be good, i.e. drive the speed limit. And honestly, 25, if anything, it's too high. Unfortunately, with Clifton Road being I forget what that is, Jim. It's some kind of Virginia byway or something.
Secondary road.
It's secondary road. I don't know that they can lower the speed limit. We'd love it if they could. But the point of the off-duty is we prioritize. So we're talking about looking into this. I've asked Jim to look at what it would cost to see if it's something we want to try out and see how it works, to let people know we're serious about it. If you're not speeding, you don't have an issue. So no problems. And give that a try. It's not any sort of long-term commitment. It is fully synced up with the county's existing process. So it's a nice option for us to have. Also shows that we care about Fairfax County Police. I know everybody does, but sometimes it helps to take actions as well as words. So Jim's going to look into that and let us know what the cost would be to practically do that, and we'll find out. What's the pleasure of the council with regard to our radar speed detection signs, 4 signs, $15,000? I gather nobody's ready to approve tonight, given the issues about wanting to see what people think and strobing and signing and all that. But if people are positively predisposed to the idea, it's too many, we should have 10, not 4. What's the council's sense?
Yeah, I think I'd like to just see what I was on the website and I couldn't find the model number that Jim mentioned. I think it might be the browser that I'm using on my work laptop. So I'd like to see if you can send out the materials so we can look at the items and get some public comment before we move forward on anything. That's sort of where I'm at. I'm generally supportive of it. I think it's a good thing to do. And I know we put a line item in the budget for it. So I'd like to see it happen, but just want a little more info on what we're actually putting up.
Sounds appropriate. Anyone else?
Yeah, I would back that idea, and Bill, your point about putting it on the agenda so that everybody knows and that we're seriously considering it. I would make a motion to put it on the agenda for the next town council meeting as a consideration for adoption, and publicize the website so that anybody can take a look at it and comment on it at the next town council meeting. And if there aren't negative comments, or if the town council is clear that it wants to do it, that we would have the option of adopting it at the next town council meeting.
Yep. Hearing that the strobing feature can be turned off at will makes me a lot more comfortable with it. I'll just say that. If there is any negative fallout from that after the fact. So I think I'm with Steve. I second the motion, certainly. And provided we have the info, we'd be ready to move forward next month if there's no significant pushback.
All right, there's a motion on the floor and a second to put this on the agenda for the next meeting and with consideration for adoption, as well as putting information out to the public on the website so everyone can see this and comment on it. Any further discussion on that motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. All right. That's a plan. Thanks, Jim. Appreciate all your hard work.
Okay. One thing I will also do, I will email everybody the information that I have, and also a video which shows you these things are working. I'll get that to everybody there too.
And
we should ask Amanda to put that, or whoever is handling the website, to put that on the website as well, so that anybody in town can see it.
We can get links to the website. I'm sure that'll be easy
Yeah,
enough.
okay.
And then the Facebook group as well.
Okay.
That would
No
be great.
problem. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Jim, now that you've talked about 4, do you think you can get a revised proposal that covers 4, not 3?
Yes.
Okay,
I'll call them up tomorrow, get a revised proposal and the latest video and it's like a 5-page spec sheet on this particular model with, all the technical details and the dimensions.
okay, and maybe if you get your fourth one, the fourth one is half price or something. I don't know it's like buying tires, whatever it is. So.
Well, what they are doing, because it's a first time buy, and I picked this up because I got a copy of their quote that they gave to the police down in Duck, North Carolina. And the guy originally didn't do this for me. And I said, wait a minute, I've got a quote here that gives a first time buying discount. How about that? So he ended up giving me $300 off each unit. So that'll be $1,200 off for 4 of them. So, you got to ask.
That would be good because times are tight and our budget is, we don't have that much money. We got to be careful. Just like when you were.
One last thing, Amanda, if you will send me an email having with everybody's email address on it, please, so that I can send all this stuff out in one blast.
So, Mr. Chesley, there is a contact page on the website, cliftonva.gov. If
Okay.
you go up to the top banner, there's a button that you can click for contact so you can easily see everybody's emails. I'm not just saying that for
Gotcha.
your benefit, but for everybody else who's listening.
Huh, I
Okay.
didn't know
I'll
that.
do that.
Okay,
Thank you all.
thank you. All right, moving along, review and approval of new application and agreement to use town parks property. We tabled this from the last meeting because people didn't have the draft, and Amanda sent the draft out to everyone. The only issue, as I recall, were 2 questions. Steve's got 3 highlighted, but one is there's a number 10 that says, are there other park rules we should include here? We would either include other park rules here or delete the thing that says, are there other park rules? Okay, so there's that. And then the price needs to be filled in. Those are 2 things that are literally open. People may have other comments as well, but we've been sitting on this for a few months, so we'd like to put it to bed. Comments? Okay. The one thing we need to fill in is price, and I'm thinking the lower. I don't know that we're trying to give people the bum's rush. We're not trying to attract people. I don't know that it really goes either way. $50 an hour, so that might be $100. I mean, that's decent money for somebody. That seems fine.
Yeah, the going rate for an event at the town hall is $100 an hour, unless it's a special like long-term rental or educational or something that's open to the public and serves the community. So for a private event in an indoor air-conditioned or climate-controlled space is double that. So
Yeah.
I think that's reasonable for the outdoor spaces.
Okay, thoughts?
Yeah, I would say just keeping that cost as low as possible, because people do have a choice whether to go through the process formally or just show up at the park. And it sounds like we want them to go through this process. And if the fee gets to a point where it's prohibitive, then I think that we'll find more people than not going through the process. I was hoping that we might better understand who it is who's booking these, to better understand if it's people in our community or if it's people coming from afar. But my instincts say that it's people right here in our community that are booking it. And it sounds like the intention is not to make a bunch of money off of our neighbors, but just to get people to follow the process. So I think that can be achieved with a low price.
Okay, well then I would advocate for the 25/50 version, not the 75/150 version.
Wait, Bill, excuse me. I don't think there is a requirement between 1 and 9 people to have a permit.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's supposed to be 10 to
It's
25.
supposed to be 10 to
This
20.
is just the one you sent out, Steve. It
Yeah.
hadn't been revised. And you'd made this comment before, but I was gonna make it again, that it's supposed to say 10 to 25.
Yeah.
$25, 26 to 60, $50, can't exceed 60. And below 1 to 9, you don't need one of these agreements. That's the way it works.
All right,
And we're just gonna let basketball fly, right? We're just not gonna
Yeah.
enforce around basketball games. Got it.
Yeah,
and I'm going to take out the open to the public part of the who will attend, because it doesn't make any sense if you have to have a limitation. And we already talked about number 8, which everybody at least agreed to last time, which is the park still has to stay open to everybody.
Right, yeah, there's no blockouts or lockouts or whatever.
So I take out number 10 altogether, which was just, are there any other rules, or does
Yes.
anybody know of any other rules?
yes, that's correct.
Okay.
And
I'll
recognizing,
redo it.
we can always add more rules, so, it's not like this is
We're not
out,
setting this in stone forever.
right.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve the form of application agreement for the use of town of Clifton Park property, as revised here with our discussion today. And to recap, that includes from the draft, removing open to the public at the bottom of page 1, making the hourly rate $25 for 10 to 25 and $50 for 26 to 60. And then on page 3, deleting number 10 of the draft, which was just a placeholder for other rules.
Second,
All right, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
I,
Opposed, abstentions? Wow, it's magical. Got
getting
that
business
done.
done.
And look, Lynn and others, we'll see what happens, right? I mean, if people go, it's an outrage, I can't believe it, it's 25, it should be 18. We can always revise, but it gives us a nice, new, fresh, well-structured, well-thought-out place to start. Next, ADA accessible parking spaces. We had identified a few options. We'd gotten some input. We're going to get other input. Where any update, it seems clear we're going to do it. The question is, where are we going to do it exactly? And any update on that?
Yeah, let me put a graphic up here real quick.
Using the screen share, I like it.
Trying to.
Trying to. So let me know when you can see that.
No.
Share.
Oh, now we can.
Something.
Well, now we can see you've started.
Fence is killing me.
screen share.
There we go.
All right.
Okay, so I put this graphic together to show where it was possible or not possible to do things. Lynn was kind enough to circulate this with
Teresa Greenfield.
Teresa Greenfield, who has addressed the council a couple times previously on this. So the most obvious spot would be the 3 spots right at the entrance to the Caboose Plaza parking area. We don't recommend that just because of the congestion of folks coming in and out. And plus, those are the shortest spots. So they're actually not 18 feet deep. Further down, the parking lot jags toward the tracks a little bit. So these parking spots are actually a little bit deeper. So this would be feasible to convert 3 spaces into 2. However, the turning radius for vans, we have the opportunity to make 2 van accessible spots. Down here in the lower right of the graph is car accessible spots, which would be a 8-inch bay for parking divided by a 5-foot unloading zone between the two spaces. But we have enough space in either option 1 or option 2 over here to go to a full van accessible parking space. We have 24 feet of width to work with. My recommendation, and I think Teresa was fine with it, was to go beyond the caboose, convert these 3 spots into 2 van accessible spots, and there'd be a much more generous approach for coming and going in there without the parking immediately across from those. So I'm in the process of locating somebody to get a quote for painting those. I'm going to try LCS. If they can't do it, I will try others. But if the town wanted to approve a budget for that, I could get a quote. If it's under it, we could get it done without waiting for another vote next meeting.
Where do you think it'll come in, Reagan?
Oh, I don't have any idea,
Like,
but we would have
without
to
a quote?
get.
Without a quote, what would you want approval for?
I'd want approval for 1,500. That would allow us to restripe this and get 2 signs. We can attach the signs to the fencing here. As you see down here, the van accessible parking. We could affix 2 of those next to those spaces once they're installed.
Right.
But if that sounds reasonable to the council, maybe it's a third of that, maybe it's 1,000. I'm not exactly sure, but I think unless there's another number out there that people think would be reasonable not to exceed.
I'd make a motion to approve up to $1,500, or if we think we should go up to 2,000. I mean, I would support that. You're muted, Bill.
Leave it at 1,500, but your motion needs to include where, okay? Putting
Sure.
the spaces at option 2 and
Yeah.
converting the 3 spaces into 2 van accessible spaces. So make that part of your.
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve up to $1,500 to restripe the spaces under option 2 in the document provided by Reagan to create 2 van accessible handicap spaces from the 3 spaces that are there. So up to $1,500, not to exceed $1,500.
I'll second that.
Is that clean?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and then if it's they want 10,000, we'll discuss it again.
Well,
But that
Got a few buckets of paint.
provides enough to get us going. And if we can get it done, we'll get it done. Okay, any further discussion on that? This is not something we'd anticipated doing. It's not a huge amount, but it's more than $500. And we want it clear that the council supports it. So we're going to do a roll call vote. I'll start with me. Holloway, aye.
McDonald, aye.
And Frost, aye.
Oh, aye.
And screen eye.
That's it.
We can allocate this to the appropriate maintenance item in the budget.
Yeah, it's part of parking lot.
Yep.
So good. We're making strides here to make a difference. Good.
I want to give a couple updates before we go to new business, Bill, whenever that happens. I would like to thank Dwayne Nitz publicly and his company, Gilbane. They volunteered. They have a program within their company that requires all employees to perform some community service. And we were fortunate enough with relatively short notice from Dwayne to put together a task list for him and about 8 or 10 volunteers that showed up Friday before last. So we were able to clean up the whole caboose area. Did a lot of weeding in the beds and getting weeds out of the pavers. Did some tree trimming around town and over the parking spaces. Moved all the old railroad ties off our parking area over to the big pile. We replaced a broken wheel stop that was next to the parking area, one of the concrete wheel stops that was broken up. Cleaned out the storm drain under the tracks right across from the general store there. So that is much better shape right now. Did some maintenance to the pedestrian path across the bridge, removed a tree in the park, screwed down all the loose boards on the deck of the 8-acre pedestrian bridge, and weeded out the pollinator garden over by the railroad tracks, all within a couple hours on a very hot day. So thanks very much to Dwayne and his company.
Awesome.
Yeah, that is spectacular and amazing that they could do all that. I hope they have more volunteer days. I think it's good for them. And
Yeah.
I'm glad the town is able to provide so many opportunities. I saw the emails back and forth about Dwayne said, are there any opportunities in town we might need? And who put that out? Was that Rick Peterson? And there's this list of like 500 things.
Well, I did the 500 and Rick did another 400, I think. So
Yeah, and he was like, oh my God, I can't do all that. But they did this really long list. As you know, Dwayne was vice mayor for a number of years. His heart is in the town in Sarah. So that's just great to be able to get stuff like that done as part of community volunteerism. Good. Okay. Anything else?
So we'll look at potentially get another group of volunteers together, probably from the town and neighboring areas. There's a lot of folks that just love to come out and do stuff. So we didn't get through the entire list that we brainstormed, but it was great to have that. One other item is that today we were able to get the pink house window replaced. Juan was back from vacation and was kind enough to let me apprentice for him, and we knocked it out in a couple hours. So it looks good.
That's
we will
good.
be getting an invoice for him and following up with VRSA on the insurance claim.
It's good to have you trained up. I guess he trained you for free.
Yes, he gets the $250 and I get nothing.
No, you get value
Skills and the ability.
training. That's how a guild works, man.
That's right. That's right.
Indentured servitude.
He is the journeyman. I am the apprentice. So.
Have you looked at tuition lately?
Exactly. That is all good news. All right, we ready to move on to running bamboo?
Yes.
All right. Who's not ready for running bamboo? So the county, they're very busy at the county, but they found time to pass two new laws. One is, and I'll mention the second one first, it's a grass height ordinance for all of Fairfax County that says if the height of your grass at any time exceeds 12 inches, you are in violation of, I guess, civil law, and they will fine you up to $2,000 a month for your 12.1 inch tall grass. And they're going to have a whole crew of people who will be investigators and whatever. Okay. That does not apply in Clifton. And by the way, I was driving different places in Clifton and I saw grass that was like 6 feet tall. It was cool. I was like, who has grass that tall? It's kind of neat. So I'm not as big on the grass, but the grass is not us, thankfully, but they do have the grass policy. But their big one is running bamboo. And they contacted me. It's a big deal. Like I got this formal letter from the director of the Department of Code Compliance for the county about their new running bamboo ordinance. And you know what bamboo is, right? And I guess it just kind of keeps going and it's a problem and whatever, and it's bad. And it probably is, don't get me wrong. But they have a new law that if you have bamboo on your property, that's your business, kind of like capybaras or whatever. But if your running bamboo goes onto your neighbor's property, it's a crime. And you will be hit with, again, $2,000 a month or something in fines, plus the cost to remove the running bamboo and all this. And they're going to have investigators and compliance officers and all this kind of thing. So why am I talking about this? Because this one, they said, for whatever reason, actually does apply within the town of Clifton. My guess is the claim is it's somehow a health and safety issue or something, because it can't.
And is it an invasive species of some kind that has my thought was that it had an environmental impact or, something beyond just inconveniencing a neighbor.
And the point is something beyond zoning, because the county doesn't have zoning jurisdiction. So somehow it's something else. I don't know, but whatever it is, maybe they're wrong and it doesn't, but I don't really care at this point, because I don't perceive this as a major issue in Clifton.
There's only one place I can think of in town that has bamboo.
Who
right?
has bamboo?
I think there's bamboo, like as you're going up the hill by Reagan's house at the end of School Street on the right-hand side. I think there's a bunch of bamboo over there.
Is
Yeah,
that
the
that guy?
reason, the reason it's a problem there is because, and I think it's somewhere between Patrick's and Jim's property there, but it's the language of that new regulation talks about encroachment into right of ways.
Mm,
So if you remember during the heavy snowstorm that we had last January, February, all that bamboo was completely covering the uphill lane entirely,
It-
and cars
it,
had
like,
to swerve
laid
around it.
down
So
in the road.
yeah, so I would, we could expect complaints from VDOTs to homeowners to confine the spread of that to the properties within the, outside the right of way, once it gets into the right of way.
Yep.
So would
I
so
love
would a homeowner just remove it from their own property and then anything that's off their property line is not theirs? I mean, how do you
It's
even,
the
They
other
have
way.
to, they
how
have
do
to
you know
prevent
where
it,
where it
they-
originated?
they have to prevent it from spreading across the property line.
Yeah, and apparently it doesn't matter where the way they wrote the law, if your neighbor's bamboo comes onto your property and you don't complain, you own the bamboo. If it then goes somewhere else, it's your problem. So everyone's supposed to be vigilant about their bamboo. Now, at the end of the day, I think Patrick and Jim can figure out their bamboo problem and what to do with it.
Yeah, so that's it.
And there is a question to us. The question is, and I'll read it to you. If desired by the town, it may be possible to delegate the authority to enforce directly to the town, such that town staff members, like Amanda, would enforce the new running bamboo regulations as designees of the director of the Department of Code Compliance. So either Mr. Wyant's DCC, Department of Code Compliance investigators, will respond, or we, the town, can attempt to take over this responsibility. So I told him I would dutifully take it to the council to see if we wanted to take over investigation and compliance responsibility, or let the county to continue with that.
If the town was to take on this enforcement responsibility, this responsibility, would the county then serve as oversight of our enforcement, or would it be
Yes,
on us?
yeah, we would be putting ourselves under the county Department of Code Compliance as serving as their agents.
If the county is going to be enforcing it anyway, whether or not, if we take this on and say, no, we got it, and they walk away at that point, I think that's something I'm comfortable with. But if they're going to be providing oversight to our enforcement, I feel like it wouldn't make sense for us to get in the middle of that. If this ordinance does indeed apply in Clifton, I think that's something we should also further investigate. But
Mhm.
anyway, that's my initial take.
Okay, are there any proponents of the town taking on this new responsibility? And I thought I caught Amanda kind of wanting to, but I don't want to speak.
I would offer that we're a challenge to enforce many of our own regulations, and having more to enforce is not a good thing. So we should take a hard look at the things that we should be enforcing before we take on more.
And they've got an entire department that all they do is investigate and
The height
do
of bamboo.
compliance. Yeah, it's
I would make a motion that the town council advise the Fairfax County that we are not interested in taking over the supervision of this provision.
okay. I'll second that.
I think
No, Lynn, did you second?
I did, yes.
All right, there you go. Okay,
under further discussion, I just want to make a remark. Is there a way for us to verify that this ordinance does in fact apply, that they have jurisdiction to enforce this ordinance in the town? It sounds to me like they may not actually. If they don't have zoning ordinance, I mean, I don't know under what ordinance they would be able to enforce it if they can't enforce the grass height.
yeah, I don't know.
I think, Daryl, the answer to your question is yes, we should be able to find that out, but it has no bearing on the motion, because the motion has to do with whether we would do something, assuming the law applied to us in the first place.
If that's part of the
If
motion,
it doesn't, then
if
it's
that's
irrelevant.
part of the, I think we should make that part of the motion then, because I don't want to
Okay.
be I don't want to be I don't want to be moving forward and giving them a response and essentially just sort of reinforcing that we're taking them at their word that this, you know what I mean?
I agree to an amendment that says,
Yeah.
assuming that this provision applies to the town of Clifton at all.
Yeah. Good. Cool.
Lynn, would you agree with that amendment?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Got it. All right, so we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? All right, I will advise the county that we're not going to take them up on their offer. Kind of weird. They made it sound like it would be a bit of a lift for them to try to get us this special authority, but it sounds like they're in a better position to be able to do this.
Ordinance is next January too. Effective date.
I mean, I would say this, if you've got running bamboo along Clifton Road that's falling into the road, don't be surprised if you get a knock on your door from the bamboo people.
Please.
So, yeah, for Jim and Patrick, that they should be aware of that. I know what I'd do if I was them. Next, holiday lighting for the town of Clifton. I received, and I thought I sent this out. I just don't remember. I think so. Reagan and I maybe got this. Yes. Okay. We're contacted by something called Precision Holiday Lighting, saying that they love coming to Clifton all the time, wondering if we'd like them to come out and tell us all about implementing holiday lighting in Clifton. You know, obviously there'd be a cost, but perhaps something more elaborate than just our holiday tree. Would we be interested in hearing about what they would propose to do? Anybody
Sure.
Sound interesting?
I'd love to hear their proposal.
Okay.
Sure, I'd love for them to be inclusive of all winter holidays in whatever they're designing.
Okay. Yeah, it's just called holiday lighting. It doesn't say which holiday or holidays. Doesn't even say what time of the year. I'm assuming it's the December winter-ish period for holidays. By the way,
We'll have Valentine's Day lighting in Air Square.
yes, with the love sign. I heard recently that electric utilities used to plan their systems around, having enough power plants to support holiday lighting. That was the biggest usage of the entire year. Now it's not surprisingly air conditioning. That's a bit of an aside, but what the heck? Okay.
The water company in New York City always had to plan for the Super Bowl intermission because everybody flushed their toilet at the same time.
Really?
Yep.
That's amazing. Another interesting.
Learn something every day.
You only hear here at Town of Clifton council meetings. And those people listening to this on streaming must be beside themselves.
There's two of them.
Seeing the value. Yeah. Well, they could high five. Okay. Finally, replacement of historical signs. There's an interesting footnote. So remember all that stuff, and the guy took the signs and this and that. The guy made the signs. He made lovely signs. And Steve's graphic design of the way to make it look, it came out great. They look really good. And the guy came out and he put them in. And moments after him putting them in, people were looking at him. All great, except apparently he put them in backwards. Meaning they're supposed to be like Devereux Station near the pub and Sangster Station over towards Sangster Station. And apparently they're reversed. So we need to figure out, Reagan, maybe you can help with it too. We need to figure out how to open them up and switch the doohickeys.
What kind of bolts
That's-
are they? Let's get a toolkit.
I heard it's actually pretty straightforward to do. And Daryl, you might be able to help with that too. And
Happy to.
it's a simple, like there's a little cover. You unbolt it, pull it off, and pull the thing out, and put the other one in. It's that simple. As you say, I don't know what the fasteners are, but we need to do that. I mean, the great news is it actually happened. Our patience and persistence. He came through, and we got these beautiful new signs. So all really good. This is just a little tweak. So that was the last thing. I want to let people know the good news, and of course, there's always something to do here in Clifton, and we can work on that.
One note on that is that he did take his Civil War Trails sign down and left the signpost in this landscaping bed.
We can put something else up.
Yeah.
So
Oh, we love signs.
we'll take that signpost out.
Well, I mean,
If it's a straight signpost, you might use it and replace the Ford Lane sign, which the trucks keep hitting
Yeah.
and bending. A question for Reagan before we go tonight. I noticed that they're now marking the railroad tracks again. And I don't know whether this has got to be the railroad, not VDOT. But the going over the tracks is so rough now and so difficult. It's much worse than it's ever been. And it looks like somebody has marked it to put new macadam down. Have you heard anything about this?
I haven't, but
Okay.
I would agree that it's less smooth than it was before they did that.
Yeah. All right. I have no idea who did it. I assume it's the railroad that did it, but I didn't know what was. All right.
Okay.
A motion to adjourn.
The signage issue, I was wondering if we had
I'll hold.
contacted him about the Harris Park signage.
We still need
And
to do that.
And I think at great peril, I will mention this, but I had mentioned it to Laura this afternoon, is we talk about a lot of things and recognize action, but I don't know, Amanda, if we capture a cumulative kind of an open action item list, meeting to meeting and, year over year. And there's things that I think that we agree to follow up on. They don't make the next agenda or the agenda after, and they kind of fall off. And so things like the Harris Park and getting that done and picking a date to unveil those and all that kind of stuff. It's somehow we need to keep those alive so that we have a list of things that we're following up on periodically.
I do keep a list of captured agenda items, and I usually do keep them on my list as follow-up items. But if, for example, there's no one sponsoring the item, as in volunteering to talk about it at a meeting, it does sort of naturally fall off. So even if something has, for example, been referred to committee level, for example, I think for a while the history committee was reviewing the verbiage, reviewing the graphics. There was talk about needing some help on the layout. It's not that that's fallen off on the wayside. It's just that we don't have anyone to bring it forward with any kind of update.
I think we should go through that list every time we come up with an agenda and make a decision of whether we want an action on the items. And for example, we could ask the history committee to report out on that action.
I feel like that would almost need its own committee if you want to sort of have sort of an agenda committee. Otherwise, it's just me keeping track of what was discussed at a meeting and keeping a list. I can prod people, but if there's no one stepping forward to actually keep something alive and not just continue to talk about it, but actually make strides and progress, it's not going to stay on the agenda.
And it's not really the agenda. The agenda is action items. This is things that are supposed to be being done or pursued, like traffic safety or whatever. The speed limit signs, that somebody would keep a list of these things that someone's supposed to be doing. And each month we'd go, what is everyone supposed to be doing? And is it being done? But that's not going to make it done. To get it done, you'd need the people who are supposed to do it to get it done. we can just keep track of these various things as they're going. So it's not really agenda for action. It's just following up on tasks that community members are supposed to be pursuing.
If you think
Right.
about the streetscape, for example, that's a, you know, it's a great example. It's on the agenda every month. We ask for, you know, we have an opportunity to get an update from somebody on that committee every month. So there are probably a number of the items that Reagan's referring to that have a committee that's theoretically supposed to be working on them, whether it's parking or, you know, garbage removal or whatever. And if they're just sort of lingering out there and not getting done, we should have somebody from that committee come in and give comment and provide an update. And, you know, that's what we can do as a council, short of actually doing it ourselves, I guess.
We
So
can do that
following-
informally, just
every
reaching
committee-
out to people
Every
on
committee
committees.
every committee has a council rep. So by default, every committee is represented every meeting.
Sure.
There may be no report, but we should, I've just observed that as time goes, we talk about a lot of stuff, but we don't follow
Maybe-
through on everything.
Yeah, maybe following up on what Reagan is suggesting here, which I think makes a lot of sense, is having a list even published as part of the agenda, not as an agenda item, but as working issues and the committee that it was assigned to remind everybody that, like, the sign issue, the Harris Park issue was assigned to whatever committee, and leave that list up every night, every agenda, to say, well, what's happened here? Where is this committee on this point? It would be a tweak that, rather than expecting Amanda to start calling around and asking that question, it would be something that's written on the agenda every month, not as an agenda item, but as an information item of what we're waiting for.
And it would need to be just provided by multiple people. I mean, I'm capable of tracking the discussion of the council meetings, and I can keep a list of what the council members say. I'm going to have additional information for you at next month's meeting. When somebody says that, I automatically have that in my list that I send to the mayor for when he's developing the next agenda. But I'm going to reach back 2 years prior? No. So somebody needs to be keeping track of their committees.
Yeah.
And forwarding the information. I don't mind making the list, but I don't want to be the one who's tracking the list and trying to keep track of all of those items.
No, but I think the list by itself, Amanda, would constitute a reminder to those committees of their obligations.
If people will send me the items, I'm happy to compile the list.
Start with whatever's on Reagan's mind, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, my general way, like, there's lots of stuff going on in town about cleaning up the Newman Park, you know, that wilderness park area, and improvements to the trail. There's a long list of stuff.
Mhm.
When something becomes truly a burning and important issue, it'll get raised up and it'll go on the agenda and we'll talk about it and it gets addressed. But as far as keeping a list of 50 items that, you know, have been in play, or the homes tour, what's going on with the homes tour, people have talked about doing it. I don't know, but when it crystallizes, it will. But, you know, we could spend a lot of time each meeting going through a long list and asking about all those. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't want to go, I'm not suggesting we go through the list every meeting, but if we referred to the list and said, you know, we talked about doing signs in Harris Park, appears there's no action, Juneteenth comes and goes every year. We've been through a couple of them now. Are we doing anything with that or not? It's in the budget. We've got a source that can create the sign, you know, what's the sign going to say, et cetera, et cetera. So I just, you know, things that are important it seems that would be one of them that we all agreed, but it's not moving.
That doesn't have to happen at the council meeting,
Right.
though. That can happen just contacting a member of the committee. The roster is published online. So if somebody on the council had a question about, hey, where are we at? Because I too also have wondered, hey, where are we at with the signs? We did officially rename that park, but we don't have a sign. We haven't had a ceremony. Where are we at?
It's, it
It's
would
not
be more effective.
necessarily-
It would be more effective for us to go through that list and say, I'd like a report from the history committee next town council meeting on this issue.
But that could be done not at a council meeting. That could be done by any concerned council member or concerned resident could use that roster to contact a member of that committee, the chair or whomever, and ask, where are we at? I would like for you to come and present at the next council meeting, for example. It seems premature to bring up the list and have a bunch of questions raised at a council meeting. No one from that committee is present at the meeting.
If this is specifically, I'm just hearing one issue. I'm hearing a lot of talk, but I'm only hearing one issue. That's Margot Kozravi. It's not a secret. She's the chair of the history committee. The wording for the signage has been approved by this council, also not a secret. And the issue's been getting the graphics together for it, which are these, well, not surprisingly, 130, 140, 150-year-old documents that restoration services have been working on, and pulling those together in the spare time that Steve Jones and Margot have on it. So if that's the big burning issue, then perhaps Amanda could
Yes,
ask
and that's,
Margot to report.
that was just an example. You know, we talked about getting the Parks Committee together to talk about what to do with the new area in Air Square. That's an example. Are we going to paint the caboose this year? When should we do it? Who's going to go out and get contractors? All that kind of stuff. I mean, the pink house is yellow and the caboose is pink. So we have to continue to do things and keep those kinds of things, because it takes months to execute the things that we've identified in the budget to do. And that's the kinds of things that I'm looking, continuous focus on so that they progress.
Sounds like you got it all in hand, Reagan.
Yeah.
Lighting the Christmas tree again. I mean, we just talked about a vendor that wants to do it, but what's the plan for that? Homes tour, are we going to do it? Are we not going to do it? I guess the old haunted trail will come up again eventually, but it's already August. So
I think
I
the
don't know if that's
haunted
good or
trail,
not.
the chairs for that committee stepped down, and we have not been able to replace them. We have
Okay.
nobody to chair that committee at this point. So, and
So we
I
could-
reported that a couple months ago.
On the next agenda, we could add 15, 20 items on caboose repainting and have someone give a presentation, and park extension reuse, haunted trail future, the gala, Clifton Gala future, and try to get someone in to present on each one of these. And see where we're at. I don't know.
It sounds-
Maybe a
if
small
there are
handful.
issues.
Yeah, I don't know.
It sounds like to me, it's a different question. It's more about how to manage it all, and kind of thinking about new ways of doing. So that might be the agenda item, is to actually be reflect on it and put this on the agenda to come together about how might we structure ourselves to be able to keep up with everything, so that it doesn't always just fall to the default. That Reagan's really good at it, so he's the person that needs to do that. I know that if I had a little bit of time to think about it, I'd have some ideas, not necessarily on the spot though.
I think that's a good idea, Lynn. I think having this on the agenda next month to deal with the status of ongoing projects, whether they're dead or not dead. I mean, Daryl just made it clear that the haunted trail is dead at the moment. We didn't know that, or he said it 2 or 3 meetings ago and it didn't register with me. So having a status report, and I think, Lynn, you're absolutely right. We should have an agenda item next meeting on how we deal with the status of ongoing projects.
All right, Amanda, remember to put that on the agenda.
See, the way that you phrased it, that will be on the agenda next month.
Right, and then we'll talk about it and go from there.
Now, can I say it?
Sure.
You've had a second already, so.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. Motion carries. We'll see you next month.
Very good. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.